You opened that letter, or maybe it landed in your myGov inbox. Something about a review, something about your payment, and now you are wondering if you did something wrong. You did not. But a rule that affects almost every Australian over 70 has quietly shifted, and if you miss the cutoff, your pension could drop, and you would never be told exactly why. I have spent decades in Centrelink queues and reading the fine print nobody else bothers with, and I found the date that matters. Stay with me, because before this is over, I will show you one thing you can do this week tied to a Real Services Australia program. Most people over 70 have never had explained that protects your money no matter what your situation looks like right now. Let me tell you where this started for me. A few winters back, I was sitting at my kitchen table with a cup of tea going cold, holding a Centrelink letter that used the word reassessment, and my stomach dropped the same way yours probably just did. I thought I had done everything right. I had not missed a single reporting date, and still the number on my payment summary had changed, and nobody had picked up a phone to warn me. That afternoon taught me something I have never forgotten. In this system, the change comes first, and the explanation comes later, if it comes at all. So I decided I would be the one watching the calendar. And right now the calendar is telling me something you need to hear. Here is the plain truth. The way Services Australia calculates part of your age pension is built on something called the Deeming rate. And for years, those Deeming rates were frozen. Frozen low on purpose to protect pensioners while interest rates went up and down. That freeze was never meant to last forever. It has already been extended more than once, and every extension has a fixed end date attached to it. The moment that freeze lifts, the rules the department uses to judge your income change underneath you, and your fortnightly payment can fall without a single dollar actually leaving your bank account. That is the part that catches people. Let me explain exactly how, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Deeming is a rule that assumes your savings and investments earn a certain rate of return, whether they actually do or not. It does not matter if your bank is paying you almost nothing. Centrelink deems that your money is earning a set percentage, and it counts that deemed amount as income under the income test. For a long stretch, the lower deeming rate has sat at 0.25% and the upper rate at 2.25%. Those are historically low numbers, and they have been held there deliberately. The single deeming threshold sits around $62,600, and for a couple, it is around $103,800. Below the threshold, your money is deemed at the lower rate. Above it, the upper rate kicks in. Simple enough on paper. But here is what almost nobody tells you. The day those frozen rates are allowed to rise, the deemed income on your savings rises with them. And because your pension is reduced by a set amount for every dollar of income over the free area, a higher deeming rate means a lower pension automatically. No letter of apology attached. You could have the exact same money in the exact same account earning the exact same tiny interest and still see your payment cut. That is not a mistake. That is the machine doing precisely what it was designed to do. And the people who designed it are counting on you not understanding the mechanism, because a rule you do not understand is a rule you cannot argue with. Now, before your tea goes cold like mine did, here is the first thing I want you to do, and it costs you nothing. Log into your myGov account, go into your Centrelink profile, and check the figure listed under your financial assets and your deemed income. Write down what is there today, because the single most powerful thing you can hold in a dispute with this department is a record of what your file said before the change. I learned that the hard way. When my payment dropped, I had nothing to compare it to, and arguing with Centrelink without a baseline is like arguing about the weather from inside a windowless room. Take the screenshot. Note the date. That is your evidence, and it is free. But deeming is only the first tripwire, and honestly, it is not even the one that costs people the most. Because there is a second review happening that hits a very particular group of Australians over 70, and this one is not about your savings at all. It is about your card. Let me talk about the Commonwealth Seniors Health Card, because I have watched people leave hundreds of dollars a year on the table without ever realizing it, and I have watched others lose the card entirely because they did not understand how the income test on it actually works. This card is not the pensioner concession card. It is a separate thing, and it is aimed squarely at self-funded retirees over pension age who do not get the pension or only get a small part of it. It gives you cheaper prescriptions under the pharmaceutical benefits scheme, bulk billing incentives, and often a swag of state and territory concessions on rates, energy, and registration. And the income thresholds to qualify were lifted dramatically not long ago to around $99,025 a year for a single person and around $158,440 combined for a couple. Read those numbers again, because when I first saw them, I nearly spilled my tea a second time. Thousands of older Australians assume they earn too much to qualify for any government card at all. They hear the word pensioner and think it does not apply to them, so they never apply. And every single year they do not apply, they pay full price for medicines that could have cost them a fraction, and they miss concessions on bills they are grumbling about anyway. The card was made far easier to get, and the people who would benefit most are precisely the ones who assume the door is closed to them. That is the quiet cruelty of it. The rule got more generous, and the message never reached the people it was made for. Here is why the timing matters, and why I keep calling myself the one watching the calendar. Eligibility for that card is tested against your income, and part of that income is, you guessed it, deemed from your financial investments using the very same deeming rates we just talked about. So when those frozen rates lift, two things happen at once. Some current pensioners see their payment shrink, and some self-funded retirees who were just under the health card threshold get pushed over it and lose the card. One rule change, two different groups of over 70s, both worse off, and the connection between them buried so deep that most people never join the dots. I only joined them myself because I sat with the Services Australia rate documents and traced the deeming rule through both tests line by line. It should not take that kind of digging, but it does. So therefore, if you are self-funded or somewhere in that gray zone between a small part pension and no pension at all, I want you to do the second free thing this week. Go to the Services Australia website, search for the Commonwealth Seniors Health Card income test, and check your adjusted taxable income against those thresholds. If you are under them and you do not have the card, you are almost certainly leaving money behind. And if you are close to the line, you need to know that before the deeming rates move, not after, because timing your application matters more than most people realize. Now, I can already hear some of you. You are thinking, this is all very well, but it does not apply to me. Maybe you are thinking your money is all in your home, not in the bank, so deeming does not touch you. Maybe you are on the full pension and you feel safe. Maybe you are one of the careful ones who has reported every dollar, filed every form, and never put a foot wrong. So surely none of this can reach you. I understand that feeling completely, because I had it too. Right up until the afternoon, it stopped being true. So let me take that assumption apart gently, because this is the part I most need you to hear. If you own your home and think you are untouched, listen closely, because the finale of this video is built precisely for you. If you are on the full pension and feel safe, understand that the full pension is only full as long as your assessed income stays under the free area, and a rising deeming rate can quietly push a part pensioner's assessed income up without you spending or earning a thing. And if you are the careful one who has done everything right, I am sorry to be the one to tell you that is exactly the person this system catches, because doing everything right last year is no protection against a rule that changes this year. The letter I opened at my kitchen table went to a man who had never missed a single reporting date in his life. Compliance is not immunity. Nobody at that department is sitting there thinking, this fellow has been so diligent, let us leave his file alone. The change is applied across the board, and it finds the diligent and the careless alike. So here is the concrete step for you, the one who thinks none of this applies. Whatever your situation, do one thing. Confirm in writing what your current status is. If you are a pensioner, note your current fortnightly rate and your assessed income from your myGov Centerlink account. If you are self-funded, note your latest adjusted taxable income from your most recent tax return. If you own your home outright and feel none of this reaches you, write down your date of birth and confirm you are over age pension age, which for anyone born on or after the 1st of January 1957 is now 67. That single fact that you are over age pension age is the key that unlocks the finale I am about to give you, and it applies to every homeowner over 70 watching this, without exception. Do not skip that step thinking it is not for you. It is the most for you. And that gap, between a rule getting kinder and nobody telling you, is exactly the gap I got sick of watching people fall into, which is why I sat down and wrote it all out properly. Everything I am walking you through here, the deeming thresholds, the health card income test, the letters with confirmation dates printed on them, lives in full inside a set of 3 books I wrote myself for Australians on the full or part-age pension who have never paid an advisor or a lawyer. In a video, I can name the rule. In the books, I can hand you the actual letters, the forms, the wording, and the order to do them in, so you know exactly what to write, who to send it to, and what a straight answer from Centrelink is supposed to look like. Every step free, every step doable this week at your own kitchen table. If you want that, scan the QR code right there on your screen, link in the description, pinned comment, the collection is waiting. Now, the reason the timing on that card matters so much comes down to one detail buried in the income test, and I want you to see it. But before I get to that, there is one more moving part on the calendar, and it has nothing to do with Centrelink at all. It is about your license, because being over 70 changes how the road authorities treat you, and this one comes with fines and cancellations attached if you miss it. In most states and territories, once you pass a certain age, keeping your driver license stops being automatic. The rules differ depending on where you live, which is part of what makes them so easy to trip over. In New South Wales, for example, once you turn 75, you are required to have a medical assessment every year to hold an unrestricted license, and once you reach 85, you must pass a practical driving assessment to keep driving without restrictions. In Queensland, drivers 75 and over must carry a current medical certificate whenever they drive, and driving without one is an offense that can cost you real money. Victoria takes a different approach again and does not set a mandatory age-based test, but still requires you to report medical conditions that affect your driving. The point is not the exact rule in your state. The point is that the responsibility to know it and to act on it sits entirely on you. And here's where people get caught. The medical certificate or the assessment has a date. Miss that date, and you are not simply overdue. In some states, your license can be suspended or canceled, and if you keep driving on it, you are now driving unlicensed, which is a fine and potentially far worse if you are ever in an accident and your insurer decides your cover does not stand. I have a neighbor, a good, careful driver in his late 70s, who let his medical lapse by a few weeks because the reminder went to an old address. He did not find out until he was pulled over. The stress of that took months off the man. Nobody chased him kindly. The letter simply stopped mattering the day the deadline passed. So, the third free step this week is this. Find out the exact rule for drivers over 70 in your own state or territory. Check the expiry date on any medical certificate or license condition you hold, and put that date somewhere you cannot miss it. If your address has changed in the last few years, update it with your road authority today, because a reminder sent to the wrong letterbox is no reminder at all. This one is not about losing dollars from a pension. It is about losing your independence overnight because a piece of paper expired while you were not looking. Now let me pull the thread tight, because everything I have told you so far has been about protecting what you already have. The deeming baseline, the health card, the license date, defense, defense, defense. But I promised you something at the start that is not defense. I promised you one thing: you can actually reach out and use an entitlement built into the system, sitting there right now, that most Australians over 70 have never had explained to them properly. And it is aimed straight at the very people who told me earlier that none of this applies to them, the homeowners. It is called the Home Equity Access Scheme. And if that name means nothing to you, that is exactly the problem. Because for years it went by a different name, the Pension Loan Scheme, and it was so poorly promoted that hardly anyone used it. It is run by Services Australia. It is a government program, not a bank product, not a private reverse mortgage from some outfit you have never heard of. And here is what it actually does. If you are over pension age and you own property in Australia, you can use the equity in your home to receive extra money from the government, either as a regular fortnightly top-up or as a lump sum, or both, and you do not have to be on the pension to use it. Self-funded retirees can use it too. That is the part almost nobody knows. Let me show you why this is the finale. Think about who has been most worried through this whole video. The homeowner who is asset rich but cash poor. The person who has done everything right, whose wealth is locked up in the bricks and mortar around them, who watches every deeming change and every threshold with a knot in their stomach because they cannot easily turn a house into groceries. That person has been told for years to simply tighten the belt. But the Home Equity Access Scheme lets that same person draw on the value of their own home from a government program at an interest rate that has been sitting at 3.95%, far below what most commercial reverse mortgages charge. You can take a lump sum advance capped as a portion of the maximum pension rate or a steady fortnightly amount, and the debt is secured against your property and repaid when the home is eventually sold, with protections built in so that in the ordinary course of things you cannot end up owing more than the property is worth. I want you to sit with why this was kept so quiet. A government program that lets older Australians unlock their own money at a low rate without going to a private lender, and yet the take-up for years was tiny because it hid behind a dull name and was buried on a page most people never found. The confusion was not an accident. Every homeowner who does not know this exists is a homeowner who either goes without or walks into a far more expensive private product or sells the family home earlier than they wanted to. The people who profit from you not knowing are the ones offering the pricier alternatives. And the department that could have shouted this from the rooftops instead let it sit under a name that told you nothing. So here is exactly what to do, and it is simple enough to start this week. Go to the Services Australia website and search for the Home Equity Access Scheme. Read the eligibility, which comes down to being over age, pension age, owning Australian property you can offer as security, and holding adequate insurance on it. Look at whether a fortnightly top-up or a lump sum advance suits your situation better. And crucially, before you commit to anything, use the scheme's own calculator and talk to the Services Australia Financial Information Service, which is a free service, genuinely free, staffed by officers whose job is to explain your options with no product to sell you. That last point matters, because this is a loan against your home, and it is not the right move for everybody. But every single homeowner over 70 deserves to know it exists before they make any decision about their money. Knowing it exists is what turns you from someone the rules happen to into someone who decides. And do you see how it all ties together now? The deeming change threatens your pension. The health card thresholds decide your concessions. The license date guards your independence. And the Home Equity Access Scheme is the option that has been sitting in your back pocket the whole time that nobody bothered to tell you about. Every one of these was designed to work best for the person who never looks closely. You are now the person who looked closely. That is the whole difference. Let me leave you with the calendar one last time, because I am the one watching it, so you do not have to. The deeming rate freeze has an end date, and when it lifts, some pensions fall and some health cards vanish. The health card thresholds are more generous than they have ever been, and the people who qualify mostly do not know it. Your license has a medical date attached to it the moment you cross into your 70s, and the road authority will not chase you kindly if you miss it. And the Home Equity Access Scheme is open right now, low rate, government run, and quietly waiting. None of this needs an advisor and a fat fee. It needs you to log in, write down your numbers, check your dates, and make one call to a free service. That is a single afternoon at your kitchen table. I know, because I have sat at mine doing exactly this. Here is what I want you to feel right now. Not fear. The opposite. An hour ago, these rules were happening to you in the dark. Now you can see them coming. And a rule you can see coming is a rule that cannot ambush you. You just took back something that was quietly being taken from you, not your money yet, but the thing that protects your money, which is knowing. That is what the department was counting on you, never having. You are the kind of person who refuses to be caught out by a rule someone changed quietly behind your back. That is why you are still here at the end, when most people clicked away at the first scary word. So do this for me, and for everyone else watching. Tell me in the comments, which one of these caught you off guard? Was it the deeming freeze, having an end date? Was it the Commonwealth Seniors Health Card thresholds being that high? Or was it the Home Equity Access Scheme you had never heard named before? Leave a comment and tell me, and while you are there, tell me which part of the country you are watching from, because the license rules change state by state and I want to see where everyone is. It helps me know who I am talking to. And if you want me to keep watching the calendar for you, Join the Australians in this group who look out for each other and refuse to be blindsided. Subscribe, because I am already tracking the next change, a shift in how your bank is required to treat older customers and their accounts. And there is one setting most people over 70 have switched on without knowing it costs them. I will break it down the same way, plain English, no jargon, so you hear the bad news early enough to do something about it. Watch your myGov inbox, note your dates, and I will see you in the next one. This video gave you the overview, but inside the Pension Watch, I'll walk you through the Deeming Freeze Protection Plan, step by step, picking up exactly where we stopped, on your own numbers. And if something's unclear, you can ask me directly. A real person answers you, myself, not a robot. You won't be doing this alone. Just point your phone's camera at the code on screen, and you can cancel any time, one click. Now, there's one more thing you really need to know. When you pass, your bank account can freeze, leaving your family stuck. But one free form stops that from happening. Let me show you how, right here, next.